Greetings, everyone. I'm Chauncey Williams. This is What Do I Do Now? WhatDoIDoNow.biz. This is the online course. And today's topic for lesson 6 is bankruptcy. When is it right? There is a right time for it. So let's get right into the lesson. Bankruptcy, when is it right? Up to this point in our volume 2, debt reduction, you have learned many strategies for avoiding debt, developing a PSP, eliminating your debt, and negotiating with lenders to make repayment arrangements. After considering all of their choices, some may find that they have no choice but to file for bankruptcy. In this chapter, we will focus on the different types of bankruptcies, some advantages and disadvantages, and how it affects your future credit rating. The information in this text is intended for educational purposes. It is written or is intended to be used as advice regarding bankruptcy. As every individual situation is different, if you are interested in filing bankruptcy, you should seek the advice and assistance of a qualified professional who specializes in bankruptcy. So I'm just giving you my word and my take on it. Chapter 7 is a form of bankruptcy. The type of bankruptcy known as a straight bankruptcy or liquidation. In this bankruptcy or liquidation, your state court appoints a trustee who is responsible for determining if any of your assets are available to be sold to pay off your creditors. In Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you retain the right to keep certain exempt property despite your bankruptcy. As exemption laws vary from state to state, only a bankruptcy professional can advise you on which property you feel like to lose. In most consumer bankruptcy cases, most of your assets, including your home, furniture, and automobile, may exempt or partially exempt. When you have completed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it does not prevent your secured creditors from recovering their debt through seizing and selling all your property if the debt is not repaid. This bankruptcy does, however, prevent the creditor from suing you for the difference after your collateral has been sold. In most cases, Chapter 7 bankruptcy will not cover the following types of debts: charge cards made in 40 days of filing, many student loans. They're trying to change that now because student loans have gotten out of control and some people were given too many of them. So they're working with people right now. I've seen a couple of cases that was ridiculous that they did discharge in a bankruptcy. Criminal fines or traffic tickets, debts resulting from fraudulent situations, possession converted to exemption within 90 days of filing, some of your taxes, including any back taxes, most of the fines payable to the government agencies, debts owed for child support or alimony, debt attached to collateral, debts you have agreed to pay regardless of the bankruptcy by reaffirming your responsibility. So you're like, hold up, reaffirming, what does that mean? It can be identified during a bankruptcy as agreeing to pay the debt you are obligated that was eliminated by the Chapter 7. Here's a great example. Let's say if you owe money for a car and it's not exempt in the bankruptcy, but if you lose the car, then you won't be able to make it to work, earn money, and pay for your debt. The creditor may decide to make that exempt, but allow you to work, but then to keep your income to pay for the car. So, but if you miss a payment, then you reaffirm the debt that they got a repo now. So that's something to think about. A lot of times when you liquidate, you sell everything. So that's a Chapter 7. Next one, Chapter 13. When bankruptcy is right, lesson 6. The goal of Chapter 13 bankruptcy is not to receive a discharge from your debt, but you receive a protection from creditors and additional time to pay off your debts. It is basically a reorganization of your debt, along with a plan of payment. So they look at all your income and break it down. Chapter 13 bankruptcy requires you to submit a plan that explains exactly how you plan to repay your creditors over a certain period of time. This is where most of the consumer reorganizations take place. Although Chapter 13 might not sound attractive as Chapter 7, it has many distinct advantages. So here it goes, Chapter 13. The advantages of it. Most importantly, it will carry less negative reputation than bankruptcy associated with Chapter 7. Chapter 7 lasts 10 years. I think Chapter 13 lasts 7 years. You are not obligated to give up your personal possessions. You can keep them. You keep everything. You don't have to sell everything. You may file this bankruptcy an unlimited amount of times. Tax debt and some student loans are forgiven under this bankruptcy if you prove they are equal of financial burden. This bankruptcy allows you to establish enough income to pay your living expenses as you are paying down your debt. So it takes in consideration that you do have a life and things happen to people. Next, you have the opportunity to make payments on your debt in good faith and show cause to future creditors so they are not liquidated under a Chapter 7 filing. You may change your status to Chapter 7 bankruptcy at any time. So if you feel like this is too much, you still can liquidate everything. And I call it the death penalty, Chapter 7. Disadvantages of Chapter 13. The court may deny this filing if they believe that you are abusing it. Like sometimes people do this and they have some money stashed, or they don't won a lottery or something, or they done got married to somebody with some money and they try to go claim a bankruptcy so they can pay lower payments or keep a house or something like that. And it happens. I've seen some strange situations. You have to stay on a strict budget to keep your payments up. You are allowed to file bankruptcy if you have a steady job and income and your debt is within a certain limitations. Most of your earnings are dedicated to payment of the debt. So you're talking about 50% of your income going straight to paying that debt. And this is just some basic questions that you can answer. What is bankruptcy? What is Chapter 7? What is an advantage of Chapter 7? And what is a disadvantage of Chapter 7? And exercise 6.1 continue. What is Chapter 13? What is the advantage of Chapter 13? What is a disadvantage of Chapter 13? You're like, why would you put these? Do you know I have people that say, I'm just going to do bankruptcy, and all they have is a car loan or like one credit card? Or they got like $10,000 worth of debt. I'm just going to go bankruptcy. I got all these collections and bills. But when I sit down with them and I show them, I say, already look, all the collections they owe. Let's do some letters. Let's do some settlements. Let's do some disputes. And let's just see how old they are if they pass statute of limitations. And see, a lot of citizens in this country, they don't know. They just like, I'm just going to do bankruptcy. I'm tired of people calling me. It's stressing me out. Because what it is, it goes back to the original diagram I created when I showed at each section. Like when I started in section 2 of this one, with me holding the credit card. The pain we find ourselves in, the issues of debt, the deficits, the anger, the insanity, the nonsense we capture our mind in. And a lot of times, as we're moving forward, we find ourselves in the same places where they had a stronghold on our mind, the poverty. And it's hard to get our self-esteem back and seek that higher power within ourselves, because over time, our development was stagnated because of some thinking, acting, and feeling towards some negative financial development in our lives. And a lot of times it's not our responsibility to get it, but we have to learn to overcome and make decisions where we sacrifice and take things out of our life that are not sure towards the evolution of my financial future. And that's when we get to that change portion where we're establishing courage in our finances. We're being honest with what we have. We're looking at things with a positive attitude. We're building people around us that are great support groups, accountants, attorneys if we can afford one, tax lawyers, people that are associates of ours that can help us manage gratitude, being thankful for our money, showing obedience, the charity, the tithe. And the last thing is endurance, building and going at this every week, every month, looking at your impulse expenses, breaking that down. I'm Chauncey Williams, and this was lesson 6. When is it right for bankruptcy?